where are the next 100 million jobs going to come from?
See, I'm very worried that with automation, with 3D printing coming, and with more efficient supply chain and technology, we will have to be very careful about jobs. We need to grow at 9 to 10% and develop our market, our manufacturing to be more cost efficient. Margins for manufacturing will have to come down to create lower costs so consumption can go up. It has to be a mass manufacture, consumption-led economy with prices coming down and not the selective manufacturing where you only take the top 20% of the market. You have to come down like China did and expand the base so that everybody can have goods and services at reasonable prices, and jobs have to come out of that. And in services, automation, more skills are required, more education required. My opinion is that we are in the midst of a demographic disaster in this country. Over the last 10 years, at least 10 crore youngsters in the age group of 21 to 31 have no jobs, are very bad jobs. In the next 10 years, another 10 crores are going to come. And that's why we got this Gujar agitation, the Jat agitation, the Patels fighting it out, the Marathas fighting it out, and the Kamas fighting it out. These are all manifestations of what is happening. The fact that in the last 10 years, we didn't produce enough jobs. And the next 10 years, I don't know where the jobs are going to come from.
So how do you resolve the issue?
Consumption increases, unless growth increases, jobs will not come. If consumption goes to 9-10%, growth goes to 9-10%, which Prime Minister Modi wants to do, with digitization, with increased efficiency, lower supply chain costs, with the GST and one common market, then the velocity of business has to grow up. That will create many more service jobs. And hopefully this 10 crore people in the next 10 years may not get jobs, may get reduced, maybe 5 crores, 6 crores. But in my view, this 20 crore people from last 10 years till 2025 will be the forgotten generation. When we sit down in 2030 and write the history of India from 2010 to 2030, we will see that this is a forgotten, lost generation for India. I'm slightly less optimistic than I was a few years ago because I've seen technology come, I've seen change happen, I've seen the impact on the world, and I see it happening in India too. Well, yes, the gap between what industry requires and academia produces is expanding. That gap has to be bridged.
How do we do that?
Industry has to spend on training. There's no other way because there's been no reform in education for the last 30, 40 years. What is the reform? Education is the disaster area for this country because it's producing people who just don't fit the job bill. So we have to train. I hope the government reforms education and does some surgical strike in education. I hope Prime Minister Modi does that compared to something else. The biggest challenge is educational reform. We don't have it.